But now is the optimal time to buy. If you got a penny, put it in Central Texas real estate right now, because it's gonna go straight up. Whether it's a $250,000 house or $250 million house, he knows what he's doing. He's competent, and he's not gonna yank you around. His statistics prove it. He's a top seller, and if you're looking to sell your property, he'll sell it for you. You know, I'm gonna put it in the bottom line. You sell houses, and you sell them quick, and you sell them for a good price.
Good morning. I'm Dallas Seeley, founder and owner of the Seeley Group, and today we've got a very special video in store. I'm here live at Yates Winery here in the Texas wine hill country. We're here on Wine Country Row, and today we've got a very special interview in store with Mr. Mike Arnold. Mike's been a long-term client for the past 7-8 years. We've done multiple deals together, and this guy is the living definition of a true Renaissance man. From owning his own construction business, to being the mayor of Blanco, Texas, to going to Nigeria every single year since 2010, right? He's got a ton going on, and we're so honored he's taking the time to sit down with us today. Are you guys ready? I'm ready. Here we go. Good morning. My name's Dallas Seeley, and I am here. When I say living legend, it is the understatement. I think the better name to describe the one and only Mr. Mike Arnold is going to be Renaissance man. A couple things, and I'm probably going to butcher it. Number one, we have not one, not two, not three, 4 children. And how many grandbabies? 3. Okay, so 4 kiddos, 3 grandbabies, a loving wife who is strong as a pistol. I've met her once or twice.
Long suffering, being married to me, yeah.
And on top of that, I don't know how you do it, because he owns a thriving construction business, number one. He is not figuratively, but literally, you're the mayor of Blanco, Texas, number 2. You are a devout missionary over in Africa. We've been to some of the missionary dinners, and Amy and I have donated, and you do incredible work over there. Word on the street is some of President Trump's representatives asked you to actually be the ambassador to what country? Nigeria in Africa. And then on top of all that, because you're not busy enough, you just started a custom high-end, very cutting edge, high-end chef experience called Naissan. So there's a lot of talk about, but again, the living legend, the true definition of a Renaissance man, Mr. Mike Arnold.
I don't know if it's that or just ADD.
There you go.
Or the other.
So tell us a little bit, start from the beginning. There's a lot to cover and everything I just hit, but kind of give us the skinny on everything going on in your world right now.
Wow. Start at the beginning. I remember sitting at the registrar's office at the University of Texas. I had taken a couple years and seen the world and such, but sitting there having to pick a degree plan, and there was, on this side, I could be an accountant or an attorney or whatever, something that's cut and dried, prefab career path. But none of those fit me, and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had to do my own thing, and so I remember then and there saying it's gonna be a tough road, but this is who I am, and so that's where it started. And fresh out of college, when I was done with it, a lot in college, but within a couple years, I founded a statewide television network. This was in the .com boom. I was 27 when we started that. And it went pretty fast. We had 125 employees at the time. It was a $40 million startup. First pitch I did, and the guy said, "Okay, well, let's do it." And we were the first fully digital network from the field to the affiliate. That was declared the most sophisticated television production facility in the world at the time. That was when I was 27, 28 years old. And, I climbed that ladder and realized that the media. I thought that's right. You can make a difference in the world, but it's really not. They don't. It's the illusion of leadership. They don't lead. They follow.
Yeah.
They follow the ratings, and if you go too far outside of public opinion, you lose. And so, and prior to that, I had been a political consultant and advisor stuff. And the same thing. I climbed up that and realized this isn't leadership. This is the illusion of leadership. So I've always wanted to make a difference. I've always wanted to make the world a better place. And after going the political route and then the media route, I realized that all the problems in this world, when you get down to it, it's people making decisions to serve themselves instead of serve others. It's sin and its ripple effects. That's I believe the root of all problems in this world. And as a Christian, I believe that the only way to really address that is one heart at a time, one person at a time. Through relationships, and that doesn't happen through mass media. That doesn't happen through politics. And when I was at the peak of my game, I was 30, 31. I quit, walked away from it, and started a ministry. Did that full time for 11 years. It cost us everything we ever had, very sacrificial, but started a youth mentorship organization that's now nationwide called Cross Trail Outfitters. And got to.
Sheesh, that's number 6, people. I'm sure there's more I don't know about.
Well, I handed that off about 15 years ago now. I'm a builder. I'm not a maintenance man. I built it up and handed it off. But I got to baptize hundreds and hundreds of kids, teenage boys during that time. And that brought me to Blanco. And that was about 15 years ago. And it took a little while after 11 years. Doing that, my last year in ministry, I was on the road 6 months out of the year. I was just gone. It's not what I had wanted to do. And like I said, handed it off and moved back to Blanco. And it took a little while to get my feet back under me. My kids were growing.
So you moved to Blanco 15 years ago. You moved the whole family there. Is that when you started Jaradan Street Construction and building?
Well, it was a little after that, started it. So Jaradan Street, that's our 4 kids, Jacob, Rachel, Daniel, Stephen, Jaradan Street. We were actually going to open an ice cream shop in Blanco. And so we started the LLC.
Number 7.
Well, there's a long list. Like I said, it's ADD. But my mother was going to partner with us. And right when we were getting ready to close the deal on that, she died. And it sort of took the air out of our sails. And wasn't long after that started getting into real estate, buying and selling houses, and needing a contractor to have a good relationship with.
Someone that hit the mark.
No, they either didn't get it, or they were way too expensive, or they didn't. I mean, there's just issues, And my oldest son at the time had been working at construction. It's always been his passion. When he was a toddler, he'd go down in his diapers and watch them frame houses in our neighborhood. He's always been fascinated with that. So he came on with us full time and has grown the company into, we're doing spec homes and stuff now.
So y'all launched Jaradan Street about 12 to 15 years ago, and it's taken off. We'll get to all that in a second. And then of all the other balls that you got in the air, I would assume the ministry work came before the kind of run for mayor. Is that probably?
Yeah, I've only been mayor for 2 years.
Okay. So tell us about the ministry work in Africa, and if someone is watching this video and they want to find out more, where can they learn about everything that you do in Nigeria?
Okay. So in 2010 was my first time I was invited to go there. I was just going to accompany a friend of mine who was supposed to be the keynote speaker at an international leadership conference. And right before we were set to travel, he had to drop out of the trip, and they stuck me in that position. And I've never been a public speaker, never been, a pulpit minister or anything like that. But I got stuck being the keynote speaker, and I had to speak like 3 hours a day, every day for 2 weeks, all across Nigeria. And that was 2010. And they invited me back the next year, and I took a group with me. And I've just got back in November. It was my 16th trip since 2010.
Wow.
And started mostly doing speaking, traveling around, doing outreach that way. And in 2019, absolute detour, completely unexpected, in the middle of their capital city, which is a modern, large metropolis, very wealthy. Stumbled down a dirt road and found this camp. It's a refugee camp. Now they're called IDPs, internally displaced people. The same thing. They're in the same country. But these are people from the northern part of Nigeria who were driven off, survived, escaped massacre, that witnessed horrible atrocities. Relatives, everybody get killed. Houses, churches, schools burned down, driven off, and they were stuck there. At that point in time in 2019, they'd been in this camp for 5 years. The government told them to stay there, but then doesn't give them anything. Denies they exist, hides it from the world. The UN denies they exist. Come to find out, just in the capital cities, about 30,000 people like that. Nationwide, there's millions of people that are living in those situations. And started digging into that. And for the last 5 years, we've been all over the country. I've been to the front lines of genocide. I've been a couple times when it was level 4, do not travel, red flag warning from the State Department. That's the highest level. That's combat zone warning, but we would go anyway. Had to come up with cover stories and hide, and because we would have been killed if the government knew what we were doing. But we've got footage now when we're in the finishing touches of putting together a documentary about this. And the real clincher of it is it's our government that caused that. Our government intentionally caused that disruption that's killed. It's now the #1 nation on earth for Christian genocide by a factor of 10. And we did that. And I'm trying to shine the light on it.
So I remember not getting too deep during this video on it, but I remember you inviting us out to a home in the Blanco area. You had a private chef, and it was really to share what was going on and why you were traveling over to Africa and why you had been so many times for this sort of missionary work. And, I think, and you correct me if I'm misspeaking, but I think the biggest takeaway is Nigeria still to this date, in 2023, 24, 25 is by far the #1 most genocide-prone country in the world.
For Christians, absolutely, yes. By a factor of 10. And I mean, that's 10 times more killed there than anywhere else.
So, if someone is watching this video and they want to learn more about not only what you do, but why, where can they go to find that information, or how can they reach out to you?
Our website, letusriseafrica.org, letusriseafrica.org. One of the primary things we do is we have built and run schools in these camps. We have 3 schools now, almost got to be pushing 600 students now, 15 full-time teachers. Because when we visit these camps, it's amazing. These people, they're not there by any fault of their own. These were people that had normal lives. They have education. A lot of them, were professional, that had everything ripped away. And it's a horrible situation. These are basically effectively concentration camps. And when talking with them, saying, what can we do to help? They don't have running water. They don't have sanitation. They don't have food. They've had to build their own shelters out of scraps and stuff. But when we ask what we can do to help, they say, help teach our kids.
Yeah. I remember you said the #1 thing on how they get oppressed is purposeful lack of education. And so the people that do want to give and do want to help, you're actually going up there to build schools.
Absolutely. We build schools, and like I said, as in doing that, I promised these people I'd tell their story. Because one thing I found, because it got pretty dark there for a while when we really started digging into this. And like I said, I stood on the site where there was a massacre just a couple months earlier. And in fact, the week before I got there were students killed on the spot where I was standing by these radicals. And it got really dark. But in the middle of the darkness, finding these bright lights, there's just in that community found an orphanage. A woman and her husband adopted 286 children whose families had been killed, and these kids were in the bush, being preyed upon. A lot of them being caught and sold in sex slave markets and stuff. But they adopted and have raised 286 children with nothing, just God's provision day by day. And these children now, they're gradually, they teach them. They're going on to secondary school. They're going on to, there's students now that are in law school, that are in medical school, that these 2 people have raised.
Yeah.
And she said, the Marilyn, the mother, said, when these kids showed up, they wanted to get guns and go back and kill. They wanted to be police or military and go back and kill. She said now they want to go to school, get an education, and go back and rebuild.
Yeah.
And that's what changed it all for me, because when you get down to it, there's really no such thing as darkness. It's the absence of light. And like I said, when things got their worst and my heart was heavy, discovering people like that. And so, my mission there now, in addition to the schools, is just elevating the light, reflecting that light, helping it shine, because that's how the darkness disappears.
Yeah. So Mike's been going to Nigeria multiple times a year since 2010. The website that the editors put right here again is
letusriseafrica.org.
letusriseafrica.org. And kind of moving on to the next tidbit to talk about. You've done so much amazing work in Nigeria for such a long time. A little birdie told me that word on the street, you were softly asked if you would be interested in an opportunity to be the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. Is that correct?
Well, there's 3 different people that are in the president's inner circle to some extent. One of them is in line to be an ambassador to a different nation. One of them was his advisor to reaching the Nigerian or African diaspora community in the United States, and the other one is a very high-level journalist. All 3 have mentioned my name to him as someone that he should consider to be ambassador to Nigeria. Now, I don't know where that's going to go, but yeah.
Okay, there you have it. Obviously, as you guys can tell so far, and this is just kind of setting the stage, Mike is very bored. He has nothing to do with his time every day. And kind of last tidbit on the Renaissance man, on top of everything else in your world going on that we just kind of described in detail, you are now the official mayor of Blanco, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My term's almost up in a couple more months.
Tell me how that came to fruition. In a positive way.
Yeah, sure. Blanco is a beautiful little town. If you don't know where it is, it's just north of San Antonio and west of Austin. In fact, there's a spot where I did the map one time. I was 49 miles from the Alamo and 49 miles from the Capitol, right there in Blanco.
Yeah.
It's the middle of everywhere, middle of nowhere at the same time. We don't lock our doors. I'll leave my keys in my car, in town. And
we're gonna edit that out.
It's a cool little town.
Yeah.
And a lot of the negative political force from more of the Austin area had started to move in. People were very trusting. I was very trusting. I just assumed these people had good intentions. And a couple years ago, realized what they had started to do to our town. They were wanting to raise taxes by like 40%. I mean, crazy stuff. Just killing the vibe, and started looking at how they make decisions, and it was just ridiculous, knee-jerk stuff, and tried to speak some logic into the process, tried to get people involved, and I asked probably a dozen different people to please run for mayor, and nobody would, and so I figured
Actually, let's see, Ames' story as the construction company. You couldn't find someone to do it at your standards, so you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Well, that's what it ended up being, yeah, and I felt called to do that. Ran and won 2 years ago, and gosh, surprisingly, one thing I didn't expect, probably the biggest thing I've learned in that process, I've learned what hate is. Just being the object of it is crazy, even in a small town like that, just nasty world out there, but it is what it is, and it took a while to get on plane over that and just ignore it all. But I've gotten a lot of good stuff done. One of the major issues with Blanco has always been our water supply. That's fixed. We've initiated a bond program. We're going to be replacing all of our infrastructure, fixed all our roads, got all the potholes filled. That was a big deal. Rebuilt our police force to where it's a hometown, really good, solid force. Done a few things in the last 2 years, and pretty much everything I set out to do. So I'm not running for re-election. So,
well, again, you're totally bored at home. Nothing to do with your time. But before we talk about the last kind of ball you've got up in the air right now, this is a great segment. I just want to say thank you so much to Dan the man, estate manager here at Yates Winery. We're right here in the heart of Texas wine country, right on a wine country road right outside of Johnson City. As you can see, we're in this beautiful tasting room. We've got this grand fireplace behind us, these gorgeous tables. And before we talk about some incredible grape juice that Dan the Man has poured, a big shout out to the owner, Ron Yates. He's skiing in Japan right now, or he would have made a cameo. Ron has a really rough life. So Dan, Mike, and myself, it's always work for us, but every now and then we get to have a little fun. So a couple things, as you can see, there's a ton of wineries out here in the Texas wine country. And without a shadow of a doubt, nobody has won more awards than Spicewood and Yates wineries. They make incredible juice. I know Ron's story. We'll shoot another video another time, but he did some time out in Europe, out in Spain and Portugal, and fell in love with the industry. And quality is top. They source the best grapes, Tempranillo, Cabernet Merlot coming out from West Texas. And we've got 3 beautiful wines that it might be before noon, but it's a Thursday, so
I'm
we have a little fun.
Yeah.
So this first one right here is going to be some Viognier. Dan, I will repeat it. You want to describe the tasting notes so I don't muck it up?
Well, I think you can do it.
Okay. Well, it's going to be incredible.
See what you have there.
Oh, and by the way, cheers. Dan did not want the dog in, so Ron and Jessica, if you're watching, this is 100% me. I put my foot down. I love the dog. Y'all need more dogs. I would buy a dog. Keep the dog. All right. So you are a connoisseur, and as we are drinking this, this is a perfect segue into your I don't want to call it passion project because I think it's got legs to be massive. I think it has legs to be industry changing. And before Mike describes the brainchild of Naissan and what it is, I want you guys, a couple analogies. Think when before Airbnb and VRBO or Verbo, there was just hotels. That was your only option, and how much Airbnb has disrupted that industry and made it a better experience for the consumer. Another great analogy is think Uber and Lyft, and previously there was just the cab industry, right? And now how much of a better experience it is with those two companies. So without further ado, let's talk about your latest project of Naissan.
Okay. So as you picked up, I'm an entrepreneur, always looking for something to build, looking for the next big idea, and stumbled across this, and I can't shake it. It's become my white whale. It's the big one. So we bought a commercial building in Blanco on Main Street, and it sort of run down. We were going to remodel it, and it had the bones of what looked like a nice little restaurant. And so I had a friend of mine who's a very accomplished chef. He is institute trained. He's been in some major kitchens, won awards and all that. And I took him over there, and he said, "Oh yeah, this would be awesome. Great place for a kitchen." And I said, "Will you be interested in helping?" And he said, "Oh, I can't work in a restaurant." I said, "What do you mean? You're a great chef?" He said, "I'm an artist." And he said, the industry just chews people up and spits them out. The passionate chefs, they get stuck in a kitchen cooking someone else's vision, with like slave labor until they finally get to the top. And then they realize when they're at the top, it's not art anymore, it's business. They got the logistics and they got the economic, all that stuff. And I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Well, I do private chefing. I teach some classes. I pick up gigs here and there. And then I do an occasional pop-up." I didn't even know what that was, but I asked him. He says, "It's like a one-day restaurant where I get to practice my art to an audience." And I signed up for one of them. It was at a winery. It was in the vineyard between the rows of grapes with tables set up. It was wonderful. He grilled octopus, and the owner of the vineyard was there doing pairings. And there was such a vibe there that was just overpowering. It was really, really cool. And so I started talking to him about this facility. I said, "What if I could just rent this to you for a week at a time? And then bring in another chef the next week and another chef the next week. And we take care." And it started to develop. What if we did the marketing for you? What if we had the alcohol license for you? What if we provided the staff for you?
Turkey.
Yeah. And you come in and then you do your thing, do your art, and leave and make money and connect with your customer base. He said, that would be a dream come true. So It started the vision as a facilities base, just using that little restaurant, but it started to grow. It ends up we're selling that facility because it's become, like you say, a platform play called Naissan. That means newborn or new birth in French, and it's the root of Renaissance. Renaissance.
Interesting. So you're telling me the epitome of a Renaissance man that I'm talking to today, Naissan started a new, very cutting edge company and named it Naissan.
Well, yeah, and so the fact is, like, just in Blanco and talking around and meeting folks, I've identified 7 or 8 very, very, very accomplished chefs, and you'll never taste their cooking because they burned out. They can't, they've spent the years doing the grind, and if you see them in the kitchen, it's an amazing discipline. A good chef, it's almost, they can be as artistic and passionate and all that stuff, but when they're in the kitchen, it's all business, and it's an amazing thing to watch. You can get chefs together that never worked together, put them in the kitchen, and it comes off like clockwork because there's a discipline to it. And so those chefs, you'll never taste their cooking until we've come along. So now you can, any given day, any given weekend, as this thing gets rolled, and you can have a plate that's prepared for you and set in front of you by a chef that's at the top of their game. And it's, as we've started doing this, the community started to come around it. And just even here, they want to be a venue now, so we can bring chefs here.
Right.
We have pantry partners, which are the purveyors, everybody from the wineries, breweries, distilleries, to the microgreens growers and the American Wagyu ranchers and cheesemakers and all that come together. And the chefs get to pick out of that pantry or bring their own along, and it really does bring the community together. Even the chef has complete control, so they can, we'll help them connect with musicians. There was a chef that we're working on a blues theme, so we've got a blues guitarist to do a musical pairing with the dishes. Art galleries will come in and deck out the walls with the art to go with the vibe of the evening. And it's like a community theater where we provide the framework for it. We have all the staff, all the marketing, and all that, and it's just handed to the chef, and they just make it their own.
I had the honor of going to one of these events about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. Imagine this massive table, 30, 40 people at it, one giant, almost, like Jesus' Last Supper sort of situation.
The chef's table.
And there was 5, 6, maybe 7 courses, and each course had a pairing, and it was very well thought out. And as a lover of wine and food, it really felt like we were not only at a 3-star Michelin restaurant, but we had a maitre d' really going over every single pairing, talking about the wine, talking about how the basic food selection of that pairing was thoughtfully paired with the wine, the tasting notes. Really incredible experience. So if someone is watching this and they want to learn more about this business, where can they go to find more details?
Right now, it's Facebook. We're building. I don't want to go out with a little scratch website. We're building, basically, it's an IMDb for the culinary industry. So chefs will have a landing page and the ticketing and all that. But Naissan Chef's Table on Facebook.
Okay. So Google Naissan's Naissan,
Naissan Chef's Table.
There you go. All right, cheers to that. So let's talk about this beautiful wine before we start talking real estate. What are you getting on the nose today?
It's there's a little bit of oak there, and it's light.
I'm thinking it really, in this perfect time of year, I'm getting a lot of late spring, early summer notes.
Yeah, there's a fruity bouquet.
Yeah, the nose has, some very subdued light green apples, some light peaches, a little bit of orange peel. So great nose, and depth in any line of work or any art is always important, especially to the human emotion. And so the nose, think of a Michelin. If you've ever been to a high-end restaurant, you'll get a dish and it looks a certain way, and you're expecting the flavors, you're expecting the palate and the outcome to be a certain way, and then it completely does a 180 kind of Houdini trick on you, and that's what I'm getting from the palate. To me, it's rich, and it's like a almost apple peach cobbler pie that just came out of the oven.
Yeah, but without being sweet. I don't like the sweet wine so much. And I'm normally not a white wine fan, but this has a level of depth and complexity without being overpowering that's very drinkable. I love it. And this is something my wife and I hardly ever can agree on a wine, but I guarantee you this is something we would both be able to drink and enjoy.
Cheers.
Yeah, salute.
All right, let's get to it. So, we've got a great kind of setting the stage. Again, Mike Arnold, the living Renaissance man himself. He's very bored, doesn't have a lot of things to do right now. But let's talk real estate. So, I looked it up this morning. We did our first deal together back in 2018. So
Wow.
actually been,
Are we that old?
we're that old. It's been 7 years. You are, as the viewers at home can see now, you are literally the mayor. You know everyone. You've had a construction business for 15 years. You know 1,000 different real estate professionals. My first question, back in 2018, what originally led you to myself, my team, and considering helping you with the sale of that home?
Well, we were introduced by a mutual friend out of Austin, and he knew the situation we were in, and I looked you up and found out your credentials and met you and saw what you bring to the table. There are realtors, any realtor will take your listing, and a lot of them will blow smoke up your rear end to get it. They'll tell you, oh, yeah, the house may be worth $400,000. And you know it, they know it, the market knows it, and they're going to convince you they can get $500 for it. And so you'll sign. And then it sits on the market forever, and then you eventually lower the price. And that's how a lot of realtors do it. First of all, you don't do that. You'll say, okay, here's what it's going to sell for. Let's just start there. Right? I mean, mark it up a little bit and try to skim more from the customer. But bottom line, you don't blow smoke up anybody's rear end. You also, there's a lot of sales agents that have no problem selling a house, but not necessarily your house. They get the customers calling them to go around and look at houses. They might show them 6 or 7 houses. One of them is yours, and then the rest are other people's listings. They don't try to sell your house. They don't care. They want the commission from the buyer. And so that can sit in inventory for a long, long time. You sell my house. You make it your mission to sell that house, not just a generic.
So let's pause right there, because I wasn't I mean, this is how experienced you are in the industry. Like, only top professionals know these two nuggets. So the nugget takeaway number one, to recap. Number one, the average realtor in America, on average, doesn't even sell one home a year. So if they do get lucky and get the opportunity to get a listing appointment, they're going to go in there sweating, desperate, like they are broke, they have no money. And so your home might be worth $400,000. And if you go in there and you're like, I want to sell for $500,000, they're like, sure, no problem. Whatever you said. They're just happy to get something.
Well, you got to look at it. If you got a house that you're trying to sell, you got to look at it this way. You're the pretty girl and in high school, and all the realtors out there are like the horny boys, right? And they're going to say anything, they're going to do anything to get a date with you. Now, do they know how to take you on a nice date? Not necessarily, but if they can say, oh, I'll take you here and I'll give you this and you'll get all this. Yeah, you might sign and get a listing, but then what? They don't know what they're doing.
That's right. So the second nugget is 99.99% of real estate professionals, their strategy to capitalize on the largest financial decision you will ever have, the single biggest financial stroke, is to put a sign in the yard and pray. That is their strategy.
Throw it on the MLS and help another realtor sells it.
So people, hope is not a strategy. Putting a sign in the yard is not going to get that home sold. And as you said it, right, unfortunately, because there's so many desperate agents that don't sell homes, they're hoping that sign in the yard can help them procure more buyer business.
Or their brokerage might have a generic program, or they put it in a hopper and it goes out on this website or what have you. And they might they'll send someone out to take pictures and they'll Photoshop this and that's another thing. You stage our places for us,
right?
And not just generic stuff. I mean, you've got a warehouse full of nice stuff, and you'll show up with the trailer and some hands, and you'll stage it.
So let's talk about that.
You work for it.
Let's go back. It's 2018. We're at the home. It's in Dale, Texas. It's one of your recent construction projects and flips that your construction company did. And not only is Mike there, but y'all, the big boss is there. And the big boss, she don't play around, and she could smell BS from a mile away.
Yeah.
So even someone who has sold thousands of properties over their career, she's got me sweating. There's beads going down the side of my temple, all that good stuff. And so, you know, what was it for you or Amy that kind of led to the decision? And dozens and dozens of hundreds of real estate professionals. What was it back in 2018 that were like, okay, that's the guy?
Well, your commitment to not just getting a bunch of listings and hoping they sell, but your commitment and your plan and the process you have in place to sell my home. Not a home, but my home. You take it as this is my project, and you have the tools in place, you have the connections in place, you have the experience, not just to list houses, but to sell houses, and that makes that right there makes you stand apart from the crowd. But then you have the ability to actually do it,
Right.
not just talk about it, and yeah, it works.
So a great analogy to kind of break it down. In almost every real estate market, except those couple of years of crazy COVID, you hope's not a strategy. So let's use the auto industry as an analogy. If you want to sell your car these days, or back in 2018 in a normal balanced market, and you want to sell it for sale by owner, you want to take a dealership, whatever, you can't roll up with it looking like you just went, off-roading and the kids Cheerios in the back. Like, you've got to have it looking sharp, right? And so if you want to get top dollar, same thing for selling a home. We're going to professionally detail the home.
Yeah.
We're going to professionally stage it, right? A National Association of Realtor stats says that a professionally staged home on average sells for 17% more than one doesn't.
Wow.
We're going to create a custom website. We now do custom marketing videos. Like, we are the Ritz-Carlton white glove service to do everything above and beyond to market your property, to get as many eyes as possible online, to make them want to go in person to step foot. And then when they do step person through the front door, their mouths drop. That's what we got to do.
And that's all your voodoo magic, and that's great. I just know that when I list with you, we sell the house, and we get a good fair price for it, and it doesn't take a long time. So that to me, that's what matters. How you do it, more power to you.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I think y'all gave another agent a try.
Well,
that first property, right?
Well, that the way I'm very relationship based, and I have friendships with a lot, like you say, with a lot of realtors, and many times it's a local realtor who's bringing me a property.
Yeah.
They don't want to list it. They it's a dog, right? They've got a wholesale deal on it, and I'll do it. My commitment to them is generally, hey, you help me get this house, help me make some decisions along the way.
That's right.
And I'll give you first dibs at trying to sell it.
And they couldn't.
And 9 times out of the 10, they can't. And I hate to say it, you've been my sloppy seconds guy.
Right.
But that's just, I got to get the deals, and I got to give, I got to pay tribute where it's due. I got to give them a chance.
So another agent tried for many months, couldn't get the job done. Y'all gave us a shot. We did our thing. We did our process. You trusted us on all of our pricing and marketing strategies. And I think we got that sold back in 2018 in less than a couple weeks. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. And so what I've learned is, because I still have to, when a realtor brings me a deal and works with me on it, but I've learned, list it before it's done, so that clock starts ticking, and push for a shorter, 3-month listing instead of, they want 12 months, whatever. So that as soon as the house is done and they've had a few weeks to try to get, their smoke up the rear end price and doesn't work, then I just call Dallas, and then
We had a very complicated professional It's like I allow you to date others, but you always come back home, right?
I got to get the deals. You bring me deals, I'll do it with you from the beginning, bro.
All right. Before we go to our next question, this second wine is what really set me off. Amy and I go to Napa at least once or twice a year. Ron makes fun of me all the time for that. He's very particular on his grape juice, but let me tell you, subjectively, because all of our palates are different, the Tempranillo from Spicewood Vineyards and Ron Yates is just absolutely off the charts. And in fact, we're going to put the link right here above me. For years before we started having kiddos, and Dan was there for all that, we threw a yearly barbecue and wine festival at Spicewood Vineyard. And so at our it was I almost got my wife left me a couple times for it, but it was fun. But at our peak, I pulled a Mike Arnold and can grew it out. Nothing was large. We had over 3,000 people show up. And keep in mind, this is on a July hot summer day. We had over 3,000 people show up. We had 3 live fans, including Honey Brown, Django Walker, and Corey Morrow. We had 12 different barbecue outfits, some of Texas' best, from Opie's to Salt Lick to Terry Black's to Kreitz out of Lockhart. We had some big boys there.
And you didn't invite me.
Well, this was before 2018. Okay. And on top of that, Ron and Dan were so gracious. They could have just, kept it to Spicewood Vineyards and Ron Yates wine. But, Ron's got great relationships out here. So we had 15 of the top Texas wineries out there. So when you got a ticket, right, you got to go around to the different barbecue joints. You got wine tickets, got to try the wine. And here's the cliff notes. You ready? On a summer Texas day, you think white would be the deal. Spicewood Vineyards or Ron Yates Tempranillo paired with some Texas barbecue. It's just absolutely off the charts, right? And kind of a local secret, whether you're here in the Austin area or you want to fly out, and Dan's going to get mad at me as saying this, but Opie's Barbecue is one of my top favorite. It's right across the street from Spicewood Vineyards. Oh. And so getting a little Opie's, on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon, going across the street and, just, again, you talked about it earlier, it's vibe, it's experience, it's human connection, and knowing if the other person actually truly cares that you're there. Whether you come out to Ron Yates, Dan's going to be here and he's going to be your new best friend, or if you go out to Spicewood, if he's not skiing in Japan, thanks for the invite, Ron. Ron will be there with his dogs and he'll sit down with you and he'll just hang out, and it's not pretentious, and it's the culture and the vibe and the family atmosphere is off the charts. So highly recommend Ron Yates and Spicewood Vineyards wines. Okay, let's get to the next question before we talk tasty notes on this grape juice. And again, I had some help in these questions, and we might have hit it, but what were your biggest concerns or challenges when starting the process with myself and my team?
Biggest concerns or challenges? The fact that my only challenge was trying to sell a house.
Yeah.
You make it very easy to work with you. So I didn't really have any challenges as far as engaging you and working with you.
Okay, let's curveball off the cuff. Let's reframe that question.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of real estate professionals. You've dealt with dozens of others in the past. You've now been working with myself and my team for 7 years straight. How is your experience working with me similar to a sort of turnkey experience you're creating with Naissan and these world-class chefs?
So as the property owner, as the seller, you are fantastic. Compared to other realtors that I've worked with a lot as far as keeping me up to date. For example, what's going on, what's the status, who's showing, who's looking, what the conversation is. Very important. In fact, we're here. We're going to look at a house that you're going to be selling for me here, hopefully real soon. Just a few miles down the road.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopes on a strategy, Paul. We're to sell out.
I know you are.
Yeah.
But and I'm not going to cast shade, but let me just say, generically, a lot of realtors, you're kept in the dark. They may be doing their thing. They may not. You don't know. But, they might tell you, oh, we might have a showing next weekend. And you have to pry information out of them about how it went and what's going on. You give us great peace of mind knowing, not only knowing that you're on the case, but showing us step by step that you're on the case and what you're doing and how it's working and what the process is. Very, very important, just for my peace of mind.
Perfect. Next question for you. Can you walk us through your different experiences of working with myself and my team over the years? A little more detail. We just went in depth about that first home sale in 2018. I think less than 6 months later, we had our next one in Horseshoe Bay. Yeah, talk about, and you had a partner on that deal. So you want to talk about that experience?
Yeah, and that was one where so I was mentoring a fellow on getting into their house flipping, for lack of a better term, the
Yeah.
real estate investment business. And he had found that home, and it was brought to him by a broker there in Horseshoe Bay. And that broker helped us when you're building a home for a market to sell, you want to find out what sells. And so, this color and this style and this feature, he was very helpful with that. And obligated to give him the first listing, and it just didn't go anywhere. He's one of these. Yeah, he's a great real estate salesman. He'll sell you a house, but it might not be my house.
How long was it listed with them?
It was a few months.
That's like 6 months.
I think so. Yeah, I try to. Over the years, I've squeezed that down.
So curveball question, and back to the story. I've heard it so many times in my career of, well, we went with this person, and that's not this situation.
Yeah.
But here's my question for you. We went with this person because they're local. They live here in this area.
Yeah.
They live here in this neighborhood, and so the my assumption is they would be the best to sell our home because they're local. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, but also, for example, and this was before we met. We had a home I did in the city of Bandera, which is off in the hill country. And we didn't know anybody there, and looked it up, and the highest rated by far realtor in town. Great ratings, 5 stars, very successful.
Don't mention their name on.
No, and we worked with this fella, and he was very helpful from the beginning. But what we found out, from the perspective of a home buyer, he's great. He will, you want to buy a house, you tell him what you want, he'll go and put together a tour. You come in, and he'll go and take you on 7 or 8 different showings, right, in a day. As a buyer, that's a great service. As a seller, that's horrible, because he's showing 7 or 8 houses. One of them's mine, and he doesn't care which one he sells to them, right? He's not trying to sell my house. He's just selling a house. And that's the problem with even a highly rated realtor. Are they highly rated because they're good for buyers who give the ratings? Or are they good for sellers? And that's a very big difference. And
There's another big nugget for you guys.
if I'm a seller, I want an agent who sells and who will sell my house and who's not trying to generically sell any house but mine. And that's what sets you apart.
So y'all gave the local Horseshoe Bay agent the chance, because obviously in y'all's business model, he was the one that procured the rehab flip. You and Larry, your partner, y'all did the work. Y'all flipped it, had it for sale with the local guy.
Beautiful home, yeah.
Beautiful home. First 6+ months to get the job done. And then what happened?
And then we called you. And I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was pretty darn fast that you saw. Well, you came in. This one thing's always impressed me about you. And I don't know if you've grown too big for this yet or not, but that very first house, you said you were going to stage it. Great. I didn't expect you to show up with your work clothes on with a buddy with a trailer full of furniture and stage it yourself.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me. Really, it wasn't just some flunky out there. You personally are invested in each and every one of these deals. And you came out to Horseshoe Bay, you staged the house, made it look beautiful, and it sold. It sold pretty quick, and it sold at a price that I was very happy with.
So, Mike, you just reminded me, and I appreciate it. Just want one quick thing to point out. If you go to our website, if you go to our YouTube channel, yes, our brand has a very purposeful luxury element to it. We are very authentically, who we are. And we love great wine, we love great food, we love great relationships, and we love great real estate. And so, we do get a lot of calls, a lot of conversations from people that might be, whether they're investors or first-time home buyers or sellers that might be, at the price points of 3, 4, 500,000. And we've even had some instances where people are like, well, I didn't think you would work with me. I thought you only sold multi-million-dollar homes. And so, for the record, yes, we've sold 2, 5, 8, $10 million plus homes. But if you are a first-time home buyer, or seller, or an investor, and you have a $300,000 property, we're going to serve you at the same level as if you had a $3 million property, and we're not going to miss the forest for the tree. And we understand that this is such a massive life decision that if we can over deliver and if we can treat you every single step of the way as if you were family, that just like today's conversation, we've now gained not only a client for life, but also a great friend.
Absolutely. And that first house we did that was in Lytton Springs, Texas, Dale, Texas.
Dale, Texas.
And sort of out in the middle of nowhere. It was not a big fancy house. I mean, we had made it nice enough, but it's not a rich neighborhood. It was like $200,000, something like that. We paid $9,000 for the place.
I'm not Mike. I'm nice.
But yeah, I mean, and again, it wasn't a multi-million-dollar home. That's what impressed me. I mean, if it was a multi-million-dollar home, sure, but you came down for $200,000 house and staged it yourself and worked your tail off and got it sold and
Hour and a half drive.
yeah,
away.
earned my business.
That's right.
Yeah,
Earned just that.
salute.
So let's talk more about this Tempranillo. On the nose, I'm getting a little bit of saddle, a little bit of kind of dry dark berry. What
Yeah, but it's now it's crisp is the way I describe it. It's interesting. It doesn't have the this what would I say? A lot of red wines linger and they coat your mouth.
they're overripened.
Yeah, this is really sharp, really crisp, and the flavor. Wow! So there's an explosion right at first. A little bit of spice, great flavor, but then and it's high in the palate. It doesn't coat your tongue. It doesn't stick in your throat. But then it just sort of fades, and I can see that this is for a red wine to be. I would describe it as refreshing. So and it would go great with a like you say a barbecue because it's not going to overpower. It's not going to steal from it. It's gonna enhance it, and not take away.
100% Tempranillo from the West Texas Plains. Dan, what vintage is this?
That's 21.
2021. Hasn't even hit its peak yet, and
It's fantastic.
Mike nailed it. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of flavors going on the nose and the palate. Two core things which make it perfect for the past experience I just described, right? Number one, we were drinking this in the middle of July. It was 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And so this is complex with depth, and it's not a heavy, overpowering red like your normal Napa Cab, where literally you can drink this in the heat of the Texas summer. And then the second thing, of all the different flavors, there's a hint of pepper, there's a hint of spice.
Yeah.
And, we paired this with the barbecue at the festival. And so just really, it's light, refreshing, but because of that spice, it can hang with the barbecue where the food doesn't overpower the pairing.
And vice versa. It's not going to, right. I love it. So we're going to have to do a Naissan event here and have
We will. We'll set that up with Dan the man. All right. Next question. We've done multiple deals over the years. We're about to go to your next one where another agent, bless their heart, tried their best, and now we've got to get the job done.
And that was an interesting story because we had a right-of-way issue with the city on the street. The surveyor had pegged the right-of-way off of the survey from across the street, only record he could find, and it said it was 60-foot right-of-way, and the city standard is 69 feet. We had to actually pass an ordinance.
Oh my gosh.
And this person, she wasn't doing it for tit for tat, but she happens to be on the city council. So she had helped with it, and she had helped with design and some ideas and stuff. So yeah, sort of felt obligated to go with her.
But now you have the house on.
Now we're ready to sell it.
Yeah. There you go. So that leads into the next question. Were there any specific moments during all of our past professional sales together where you felt my expertise and experience made a massive difference in the final outcome?
Well, of course. That's why I keep calling you back every time. Gosh, I can't imagine where we'd be, God, as a family, financially, if we had to sit and wait for a year for some of these houses to sell. And the way most realtors do it, the 120, 200 days on market. I can't live that way. I can't afford to sustain, especially with
holding costs.
When you're doing flip houses, especially, sometimes using hard money, whatever. Time is money. And yeah, your ability to come in and sell something makes all the difference in the world. Absolutely.
Okay. So we'll make the next one an easy layup because I think you've said it in a couple different ways. But the question on the sheet is if you had to describe my negotiation skills in one word or phrase, what would that be and why?
Real. One word, that's it. You get real. Like you remember the first conversation we had about selling a house. Well, you can list it for this, list it for that, but look at the thing out in the market. I think this is a fair sales price. And when at the end of the day, if someone were to make this offer, you'd take it and you'd be happy. Yeah, absolutely. So why are we going to start 100,000 more than that? That's just going to drag you out and waste time. Let's get real. And you're just real about that. It's common sense. It's practical. I wish everybody were that way. It'd make the world a better place.
Well, I appreciate that. A little bit on that. Number one, we're blessed to be at a point in our career where we're not desperate and we don't have to take every listing that comes across our path. And so if we do meet with the seller and they don't want to get in alignment with our pricing marketing strategies, then it's probably not a good fit because we're not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing and custom websites and videos and the time and the conversations when we know if they don't follow our professional guidance, it's just going to lead to, number one, the home's not going to get sold, but number two, everyone's going to be frustrated.
Well, and I know you're stuck in a situation where the realtor title, I have highest respect for realtors, but there's, as you mentioned, there's a lot of them out there that don't know jack. And any, Tom, Dick, or Harry can go out and take the classes and get a license. And so when people first meet you, they say, this has to be too good to be true. How can I trust this guy? He's a realtor, right? Because all the other folks that'll blow smoke at you, right? So getting over that and realizing, and that's why it helped that I was referred to you by a very close friend. I trusted you. And that trust has to be earned, but you've earned it professionally, and you've earned it to my friend. And so I extended that to you. And that was a huge deal. If a potential client of yours can get past all the BS they've been fed by realtors for all these years and realize this guy's being real to me, this guy's got the stats to prove that he knows what he's doing. What is it, top 1%, top 1%? And he's a straight shooter and he's being real. Get over that hurdle, and there you are. I mean, you're what I was looking for, and I'll keep using you as long as you keep delivering.
Perfect. No pressure. So
No,
we only have,
you do. You deliver.
we only have a couple questions left, but I do want to go to our third and final glass today's segment. So 3 different grapes on this Meritage. We have Tempranillo, Cabernet, and Merlot, all from West Texas. The same kind of VIP hand-selected situation here. And we put it number 3 for a reason. We've got some notes. We've got some berries.
Got a little more depth to it, body to it.
I'm picking up sage, maybe a little rosemary, hint of it.
Yeah.
Dan, anything else I'm missing in the back?
Is there some dark cherry?
Dark blackberries, dark cherry.
Yeah, dark berries, dark cherry, just noses off the chart. So before we go to palate, what advice would you give someone thinking about buying or selling a home in today's market? Not 2-3 years ago in crazy unicorn COVID year.
Wow.
In today's market.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me? Today's market's crazy, especially around here. Right now, today, the way I see our economy, we got stuck in some of this. We're land rich, but the market the last couple of years has been insane with the interest rates and the cap rates going through the roof, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I believe that economics, the economy, is fundamentally a measure of the optimism of people. Of course, the government has a lot to do with that, but if buyers are ready, okay, now's the time to buy, now's the time to invest, that's what makes the economy go. And there's been a lot of negativity, and currently with the new administration, I believe there's a lot of hope, but leaving politics out of it, if you just look at an economic textbook, the right decisions are being made. We're cutting government spending. We're not going to be printing as much money. we're going to be lowering taxes, boosting production. All those things point towards a booming economy, but there's a timing factor there. And there's a lot of, when we got to the period where the vultures were picking on the carcasses of the people that had been crushed by the economy. That was the last couple of years. You know, the bargain shopping days, I think, are over.
Yeah.
From an investment perspective. And as we're starting to see economic indicators come in, inflation has slowed down, jobs are gaining, and we're just getting started with this new administration. I think that investors, buyers are going to start to say, okay, now's the time. This thing's on the launch pad. It's going good. Now's the time to buy.
So you asked me my thoughts. I'll give some nuggets for the viewers at home. Okay. For almost 12 years straight, we had interest rates below 4%. So that set consumers' expectations, and rightly so. But if you look at the past 40 years, the average interest rate's been almost 9%. So I'm not saying that we're at a low interest rate, but what I want to point out is when you marry 3% interest rates with the once in 100-year unprecedented effect and outcome of what happened from COVID, and now every single company is shutting down their formal office work policy and you can live anywhere and work remote. We saw an unprecedented boom for 2.5 years, from 2020 until the middle of 2022. And the natural saying of what comes up must come. So here's your nuggets. You ready? Number one, there's always opportunity in any market. There's always opportunity in any market. Does Warren Buffett put his chips in the market when the stocks are up or the stocks are down?
He puts his chips whenever he sees a deal.
When they're down, most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so are you going to put your home on the market for one day? Are you going to make a Facebook post like 3 years ago and get 20 offers and 6 out? No, those days are gone. That's not going to happen, right? But nugget number two, if 2.5, 3 years ago was a complete skillless market, let's put those in words above us. Skillless market, meaning if you were breathing, you could sell a house.
Yep.
We're in the first real estate and economic recession we have seen since 2008, 2009, and we are in the epitome of now a fully skill-based market. And so who you hire to sell your home, to help you buy your home, or invest in properties matters more than ever before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, if you're not in the Central Texas, Austin, San Antonio market, feel free to reach out to me. I will find the best of the best in any market in America, because in any market, someone is crushing it. Last year, in the first recession year we've seen in real estate since 2008. And by the way, I'd never been through a recession. I wasn't licensed in 2008.
Wow.
We had our second best year ever. Right.
I remember in college, my first day of business class, the professor said, build when the economy is good, buy when the economy is bad. And that's a great time to be selling. This is the time that a smart buyers will get in, especially, again, I believe that our economy is on a launch pad. Now, we might be like a starship. There's a 15% chance it's all going to blow up. Well, hey, listen, but there's an 85% chance we're going to the stars. And I think that's the case. I think that we're going to see in the next few years a record economy. Because, again, just take out the economics textbook, and we're doing the right things, as controversial as they may be. But now is the optimal time to buy. If you got a penny, put it in Central Texas real estate right now, because it's going to go straight up.
I legally can't say that. He just said it. So if you can purchase with me today, and if Mike is right, because he can say whatever he wants, I legally can't. Imagine what your property is going to worth 2-3 years now. By the way, Dan, you need to buy more properties with me, for the record.
I remember I had a friend many years ago. This guy was the pimp daddy of house flippers. The people on TV, he trained them. This guy's been doing it. When I met him, he was semi-retired, He only had 2,500 homes in inventory at that time.
Only.
Yeah, yeah, he was super sharp. But he said, Texas, Central Texas. He said that's the word is when the economy goes south, retreat to Texas.
Yeah.
And we don't go down here; we slow down here. The economy can go to hell, but people are still moving here.
Yeah.
I mean, when the economy goes to hell in California, it goes way down, and they all move here, right?
They're all moving here because of Ron Yates and Spice with wine. So that is a great segue.
Yeah.
This is so complex, and I've got a little chops on wine tasting, but
So
let's talk about the palate.
in the evening, let me put it this way. I like to sit on my porch swing. We live out in the country and watch the sunset while my dogs are playing. And I like to sip a glass of red wine. I need to take a bottle of this because this is my sit on the swing, watch the sunset kind of wine. This is it's significant, not overpowering, but it's got a very distinct profile to it that I don't know that I've found elsewhere.
I would.
yeah.
I think,
Very good.
I think
A lot of oak too.
there's a theme in all the wines from Ron, from Dan, from the winemaking team at both Spicewoods and Ron, and it's almost an unexpected, refined complexity, right?
And very clean too.
You're expecting red wines these days, especially with a Meritage cabinet, to be overpowering, to be like, okay, I can only have this with a ribeye steak.
Yeah.
And there's a refined depth, and I think we could go into all the flavors, but I think the best analogy that just really hits the home run on everything this wine embodies. If you ever meet Ron Yates, he has this like over the top beard, and he walks up to you, right, and he's got muscles. He's pretty jacked, but the beard makes you think that he came out of the WWE or something. Like he's just going to take you down to Chinatown, right? And you're expecting one thing, and then he sits down with you, and you're a guest at the winery. He's never met you, and in the first 30 seconds, he makes you feel like y'all been buddies since freshman year in college. And so it's an unexpected, refined elegance. There's a vibe and a culture that is truly embodies the entire team at Ron Yates and Spicewood Vineyards. I know Dan did not pay me to say that.
And I appreciate you saying it because it really does reflect. And I know other wineries and other winemakers and stuff around here, and a lot of them. Well, there's my red. There's my Cabernet. It's like it's a placeholder. There's nothing that stands out. Cabernet. The three wines we've sampled today, they're very distinct in a good way. Very clean. Unique profiles and memorable. I need to take some of these home.
Okay, so
So it sounds like it's a reflection of Ron.
that leads to my two final questions. So the next question was, for anyone watching who's on the fence about reaching out to myself and our team, what would you say to them? But here's the tongue. Consumers in today's age are expecting more. They're expecting the full experience from any angle you can think about. So it's not just does the bouquet hit the mark. It's not just does the palate hit the mark. It's not just does the product hit the mark. It's not just does the hosting and the human connection hit the mark. But I was talking to Dan earlier today. They're building a multi-million-dollar tasting room to really elevate the entire experience to the next level. So, when you buy, I said it earlier, when you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, it's the single largest financial transaction you'll ever make. It's the second biggest emotional one behind who you marry. And so as a consumer, someone who's not even as seasoned, experienced as you in real estate, a first-time home experience, they're expecting the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
So back to that question, for anyone who's on the fence about reaching out to myself or our team, what advice or expectations would you give them?
Well, if you're watching this video, I could say I've known Dallas now for 7-8 years. What you see is what you get. I mean, this guy that's sitting here talking on camera, this isn't an act. He's a genuine guy. He's a thoughtful guy, super sharp, super smart, super professional. Whether it's a $250,000 house or $250 million house, he knows what he's doing. He's competent, and he's not going to yank you around. His statistics prove it. He's a top seller, and if you're looking to sell your property, he'll sell it for you. He's not going to give you a runaround. He's not going to be dishonest with you, and he's always going to be very friendly, professional, and maybe even set you up with some nice wine.
Well,
He's going to work his tail off.
well, and again, what I want you to show it's from your experience. Is it just about the surface level product? Is it just about me getting signed or getting sold, or what has our relationship evolved to this day?
I'm going to put it in the bottom line. You sell houses, and you sell them quick, and you sell them for a good price. You could be the biggest jerk and not give me wine and not come to my dinners. And I really, ultimately, if you sell my house and you're honest with me and you get me a good deal and you sell it like you say you will, I'm gonna work with you. The fact that you're a great guy to me is icing on the cake. But you simply deliver. That's the bottom line to me. You deliver.
Got it.
And you're a nice guy on top of it.
Last question. I don't know if that's what you're looking for. That's great. Last question on my sheet today. Any other final words of wisdom or recommendations for anyone watching the video out in YouTube land?
Words of wisdom. Nah, we've covered quite a bit. Realtors, they're on every street corner, and they'll all make you promises. Scratch the surface. Ask them what they will do to sell your house. Not just, I'll put a sign and I'll put it on the MLS. Ask what their program is for how they're going to sell it. What have they developed as far as tools, outreach, processes, procedures?
Yeah.
And dig. As you said, it's a very big decision, and the stakes are very high. And if they just tap dance, or if they say, "Well, my broker does this," or "I'm going to put it on the MLS," I'm sorry, that's not going to sell your house. Dig deep. Get to the bottom of it. Find out what they're going to do for you. And if you do that, you're going to always end up back at Dallas, because he's going to do the most for you, and he's simply going to sell your house.
2 nugget questions if you're writing things down. Question number one to ask anyone you're interviewing. What do you do above and beyond to market my property and get as many eyes on it online, as many people through the front door, besides putting a sign in the yard and putting on the MLS? That would be question number one. And then you ready for the dagger question?
What's that?
How many homes have you actually sold in the past 12 to 24 months?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That would be the question I would ask.
And the fact is, it's your firm and all that, but you're actively involved, at least in my experience, with every single one.
Right.
And not just there's a guy in the office that knows how to sell it, but is the guy that knows how to sell it going to come and sell my house? And with when I work with you, that's what I get.
Perfect. So to conclude today, this is Mike Arnold, not the living legend, the living Renaissance man. We've got a thriving construction company named after the 4 kiddos. We've got missionary work going on since 2010 in Nigeria. You have started schools there. You've done ample amounts of work and change in that country, to the fact where people have solely asked you to be the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. You are the mayor of Blanco. You are starting a incredibly cutting edge, direct high-end chef to consumer company, Naissan. Sort of think the Uber upsetting the cab industry, or Airbnb to the hotel industry. And on top of that, you've got 4 kiddos, 3 grandbabies, and a big boss lady as well. That's a lot. So cheers to you. So cheers to Dan, Ron, and the entire team at Ron Yates Wine. We sincerely appreciate the hospitality. This is just one of many tasting options here at the estate. Just gorgeous options. They're building a multi-million-dollar tasting room on the backside of the camera behind me. And again, the number one thing outside of the juice itself is going to be the relationships and the hospitality from the team here. So thank you so much for having us. Again, my name was Dallas Seeley. This is Mike Arnold. We really appreciate your time today. Looks like you enjoyed the wine. I need to catch up, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Salute.
If we do meet with the seller and they don't want to get in alignment with our pricing and marketing strategies, then it's probably not a good fit. There's always opportunity in any market. Skill-less market, meaning if you were breathing, you could sell a house. So we just got done, and again, I want to point out that I love this dog. He is the living definition of Dan the Man and who Ron Yates truly is. So we're gonna put the dog to the side. Lots of great wine, lots of great conversation day. And here's my top 3 takeaways. Number 1, choose a real estate professional who's not just gonna put a sign in the yard, that's gonna go above and beyond to market your property, to not only get as many eyes on it online, but to get as many people through the front door and to get it sold. Number 2, choose someone who doesn't sell 1 or 2 homes a year, but actually has the chops in this 100% skill-based market to get the job done. And then number 3, more than just real estate, more than just client, realtor relations, don't ever be short-sighted and miss the forest for the tree. We're building relationships, right? More and more in today's age with technology and kind of shallowness. Humans want true connection and true depth. And so just like the wines here at Ron Yates Winery, you've got to over deliver and you got to have a true complexity that connects with everyone on a human level. Again, my name's Dallas Seeley. I'm the founder and owner of the Seeley Group. If you liked the video today, click on the like and subscribe button up above. We're coming to you live every single week with more and more incredible value videos, and we'll see you next time.